The hour is approaching when heaven begins to whisper louder than the world. The moment before midnight is not just time, it is threshold. The air shifts, the veil between heaven and earth thins, and it is in that sacred stillness that Saint Gabriel Archangel descends with a message that will stir your soul. Someone you love deeply, someone whose absence has carved silence into your heart, is being guided back toward you by divine orchestration. Heaven has been moving quietly, weaving invisible threads of mercy and timing to bring what once broke apart into alignment again. This message is not about wishful thinking or coincidence. It is a revelation. Gabriel stands between heaven's altar and your heart to announce that love once torn by human misunderstanding is being restored through spiritual design. You may not see the movement yet, but the realm of spirit is alive with preparation. What you call distance is not rejection, it is recalibration. Heaven has been reshaping both hearts so that when paths cross again, they will not collide, they will fit. The Archangel speaks with solemn urgency. What was delayed by pain is now being reawakened by grace. The same God who allowed the silence is now filling it with purpose. You feel it already, the stirring in your spirit when you think of them, the unexpected peace that replaces despair, the sense that something beyond reason is calling you to believe again. Those are not emotions, they are confirmations. Heaven never whispers in confusion. Midnight is approaching, the sacred hour where endings surrender to beginnings. The same stars that watched you cry now bear witness to heaven's movement. God is not sending the past back to you. He is sending restoration. The love that once broke you is being reborn in light. The Archangel declares, what heaven joins in purpose cannot be permanently divided by human error. Every prayer you spoke in tears has reached the throne. Every moment of surrender has turned into seed. Every breath of faith you offered has become instruction for angels now moving on your behalf. Gabriel says, do not fear the silence. The hour before revelation always feels the quietest. What you think is stillness is the sound of heaven rearranging destinies. The message of this night is clear. What was lost was never gone. It was being prepared to return purified. As the clock nears midnight, open your heart, because the voice of heaven is about to cross into your reality. Someone you loved deeply is coming back, not as they were, but as they were meant to be. And you are not who you were when they left. Heaven has changed both of you. The next chapter begins not when time strikes 12, but when your heart finally says, I am ready for what God has written. When midnight becomes a doorway. Saint Gabriel Archangel now reveals the mystery of midnight, a moment that is not simply an hour on the clock, but a divine passage between endings and beginnings. The Archangel's voice carries the sound of heaven's heartbeat as he declares, when the world grows quiet and every light fades, heaven begins to work in secret. Midnight is not the darkness you fear. It is the silence God uses to create again. It is the threshold where yesterday dies and destiny awakens. Heaven has always used the hidden hours to rewrite stories. In Exodus chapter 12, verse 29, deliverance came to Israel at midnight. In Acts chapter 16, verse 25, Paul and Silas worshipped in chains, and their prison doors broke open at midnight. The same pattern repeats. When human strength runs out, heaven begins. Midnight is the womb of miracles, the unseen hinge where endings turn into rebirth, and that is where you are standing now. Gabriel speaks with prophetic assurance. Do not fear the hour of silence. It is the hour of shifting. You think nothing is happening because God is hiding his hands while he works. The love you thought lost was never forgotten. It has been in incubation under divine supervision. What you call waiting, heaven calls weaving. Every delay, every unanswered message, every closed door has been the careful positioning of divine alignment. At midnight, heaven reorders the unseen. Angels move in patterns too sacred for your eyes to trace. God recalibrates hearts, redirects paths, and prepares encounters that no human plan could manufacture. The Archangel explains, "You see only stillness, but heaven sees choreography. What seems motionless on earth is movement in the spirit. You may have felt abandoned when that person drifted away, but heaven was never absent. Midnight has been the secret hour of reassembly. God separated what could not yet withstand blessing, so he could refine both hearts without interruption." Now, as this sacred hour approaches again, the same voice that once said, "Be still," now whispers, "It is time." Gabriel warns that the transition between days is subtle. One minute you are in waiting, and the next you are in fulfillment. That is how quickly God can reverse what the world declared finished. Midnight is heaven's yes hidden inside earth's no. The Archangel says, "The moment you surrender your timeline is the moment heaven accelerates its own." You are not walking into another night. You are crossing a doorway. Midnight marks the shift where the unseen becomes visible, where prayers become presence, where separation becomes restoration. The hour that once frightened you is now your portal of promise. The Archangel declares, "Midnight does not close stories, it opens prophecies." As you step through this unseen doorway, the silence around you is not emptiness, it is expectancy. Something divine is approaching. The angels who once witnessed your heartbreak are now preparing to witness your restoration. Heaven's clock is striking not in seconds, but in alignment. The promise that once slept is waking. Gabriel concludes this revelation with quiet certainty. When heaven opens the doorway of midnight, what returns to you will not resemble the past. It will carry the fragrance of redemption, the weight of purpose, and the peace of divine timing. The hour has come. Step through. The first stirring, when their spirit calls out to yours. Saint Gabriel Archangel now unveils the first movement of heaven's restoration, the moment when their spirit begins to call yours before any word is spoken. Long before a message is sent, before a reunion occurs, heaven awakens remembrance between two souls who were once joined by divine design. You feel it not through signs at first, but through the quiet pulse of recognition deep within your chest, a sudden warmth, a soft ache, an unexplainable peace that visits you out of nowhere. Gabriel declares, "When heaven begins to restore, the soul remembers before the mind understands." There are no coincidences in the spiritual realm. The moments you think of them without reason, the dream that revisits you after years, the sudden stillness that overcomes your heart, all are echoes of a connection God once blessed. Their spirit, once clouded by confusion, is beginning to awaken to the memory of love purified by distance. Heaven allows these stirrings to happen not to reopen wounds, but to prove that true connection cannot die. It only sleeps until the appointed time. Gabriel explains that souls joined in divine purpose remain tethered even when separated in the physical world. What distance divides, faith keeps alive. The same God who divided paths for healing now begins to bridge them for fulfillment. You are feeling what they cannot yet articulate, the Archangel says. Your peace is the answer to their unrest. Your prayers are the doorway through which their awakening begins. Often, this stirring comes quietly. You find yourself forgiving them without trying. The memories that once stung now comfort you. The thought of them no longer carries pain, but a gentle gratitude. That is the proof of heaven's intervention. When emotion stops controlling your response, it means the connection has shifted from human attachment to divine alignment. The Archangel explains, the soul feels when another soul is being softened by grace. They too are beginning to sense you, not as nostalgia, but as conviction. They may not understand why certain songs remind them of you, why your name appears, or why peace only visits when they pray for you. That is the language of heaven. Gabriel reveals that God is speaking to both hearts simultaneously, even if neither realizes it. What you feel is not imagination, it is synchronization. In the realm of spirit, prayer becomes bridge. Every tear you once shed became a seed that heaven now waters in their conscience. When you surrendered them, you released heaven's permission to begin working on their transformation. Gabriel says, "Love that is born of God never disappears. It evolves until it is ready to return in truth." These first stirrings are sacred and fragile. Do not chase them, discern them. The moment you feel peace where pain used to live, pause and recognize, heaven has moved. That warmth that fills your heart is not sentimentality. It is the witness of the Spirit confirming that divine restoration has begun. The Archangel concludes this revelation with holy assurance. When your spirit begins to feel the calm of remembrance, it means theirs is awakening to the same call. What is being reborn between you is not the past, it is the promise. And when heaven calls, even distance must answer. The second sign. When peace interrupts your longing. Saint Gabriel Archangel now reveals the second sign of divine restoration. The moment peace begins to replace the ache, it does not come with thunder or clarity at first. It arrives softly, interrupting your longing like dawn interrupting night. You wake one morning and realize the heaviness is gone. The same thoughts that once brought tears now bring peace. You do not understand why, but heaven does. Gabriel says, when God begins to restore, the heart stops chasing what it trusts is returning. This peace is not detachment, it is divine confidence. It is heaven whispering, "You no longer need to fight for what I have already written." The desire remains, but it is purified. It no longer drains your spirit, it anchors it. The Archangel explains that the difference between obsession and divine expectation is peace. When peace enters the space where pain used to live, it means heaven has taken over the conversation between your heart and destiny. You may still think of them, but now it feels different, softer, lighter, less desperate. The silence that once terrified you now feels safe. This is how heaven heals, not always by removing memory, but by transforming it. Gabriel says, when the ache begins to lose its power, love is being reborn in purity. Your emotions are no longer ruling your prayers, your faith is. This shift marks the first visible evidence that divine restoration is no longer a promise. It has entered process. The Archangel explains that God's peace is not passive, it is prophetic. It arrives to announce that what was chaotic has been placed back under divine order. Every anxious question begins to fade, and in its place comes quiet assurance. You stop checking for signs because you realize the greatest sign has already come: rest. Heaven's restoration always begins with rest. Gabriel reminds you that in Genesis chapter 2, verse 2, even God rested when his work was complete. The same principle applies here. When your spirit rests, it is because heaven has begun to fulfill what it promised. Sometimes this peace will come in strange moments, in prayer, during a song, or when you least expect it. It washes over you and silences the storm inside. That is not coincidence, it is visitation. The Holy Spirit often visits in tranquility, not noise. The Archangel explains, when peace arrives, it is not comfort, it is confirmation. It is heaven saying, I have taken this burden from you, now watch me work. This peace is also protection. It guards you from rushing ahead of God's timing, from contacting them out of impatience, from reopening wounds heaven is still closing. You begin to trust the silence instead of fighting it. That is how you know the restoration is real. When peace rules where panic once lived, the spiritual ground has shifted. Gabriel concludes with divine assurance. You are not losing feeling, you are gaining faith. The peace that now holds your heart is not the absence of desire, it is the presence of God. and where his peace dwells, restoration is already on its way. Why they had to leave first? Saint Gabriel Archangel now speaks with sacred gravity, unveiling one of heaven's hardest truths. Sometimes God allows departure not as punishment, but as protection. The one who left was not removed to destroy you. They were removed to preserve the promise. Gabriel's voice carries both compassion and command as he says, "Heaven cannot restore what has not first been refined." You cried when they walked away. You questioned when silence replaced certainty. You thought their absence meant abandonment, but heaven saw deeper. Their heart was not ready to love you through God's eyes. Your heart was not ready to receive love without fear. What you called rejection was actually divine redirection, heaven pulling you apart to fix what pride, pain, or immaturity could not heal together. Gabriel says, "Love that is meant to last must first survive separation. What cannot endure refinement is not ready for reunion." God removed them because something sacred had to be rebuilt in both of you. The connection had been wounded by misunderstanding, expectation, or human impatience. Heaven saw the cracks long before they appeared, and in mercy intervened. When you begged for the relationship to remain, heaven answered differently, not by saying no, but by saying not yet. Every unanswered prayer became a wall that God built to keep you safe from premature return. The Archangel explains that true divine unions are not sustained by emotion alone. They are sustained by transformation. Love must die to its selfish form before it can rise in divine order. That is why distance became your teacher. In separation, you learned surrender. In silence, you learned discernment. In heartbreak, you learned faith. Gabriel whispers, "What broke your heart was not rejection. It was resurrection." Something divine was being reborn within you. The same process has been happening in them. While you were being purified by patience, they were being confronted by conviction. God has been showing them what they could not see in comfort, how deeply they needed grace, how strongly they still feel the pull of what they left behind. You were not meant to fix them. Heaven reserved that role for the Holy Spirit. The separation was heaven's surgery, painful, precise, and necessary for survival. Gabriel reminds you that in John chapter 12, verse 24, Christ said that a seed must fall to the ground and die before it produces fruit. The same spiritual law governs love. The connection had to fall apart before it could grow into something eternal. If it had remained in its old form, it would have withered under the weight of unhealed wounds. The Archangel declares, God did not end your story. He ended the version of it that could not carry his blessing. And now, after a season of silence, the heavens have begun to shift. The same hand that divided you is now preparing to draw you near again, but not until both hearts can protect peace instead of demanding proof. Gabriel says, Heaven removes not to deny, but to refine. What God separates in mercy, he reunites in purpose. You may not have understood it then, but every unanswered call, every moment of loneliness, every night you asked why, was heaven answering in its own language. The pain was the prophecy, the silence was the setup, the breaking was the blessing. Saint Gabriel Archangel concludes this revelation with tenderness and authority. They had to leave so that love could learn to live. What walked away in confusion will return in clarity. The same God who allowed distance is now shortening it. What left in weakness will return in strength, not because you chased it, but because heaven commanded it. The hidden awakening, when God touches their conscience. Saint Gabriel Archangel now reveals the hidden work that heaven has been doing. The awakening of their conscience, the quiet stirring of conviction that happens far from your sight. You cannot see it, you cannot measure it, but deep within their spirit, God has begun to move. The The same voice that once told you to let go is now whispering to them, remember. Gabriel speaks with the tenderness of truth as he declares, you prayed for them to change, but change is not born from persuasion. It is born from divine visitation. Heaven has been visiting their heart in secret, not in loud moments but in stillness. Not through guilt but through grace. They have begun to feel the weight of what they lost, not as punishment but as revelation. What once seemed like freedom now feels like emptiness, because the peace they seek does not exist outside the will of God. This awakening does not look dramatic. It begins in subtle moments, sleepless nights, quiet reflections, sudden waves of memory that bring both pain and tenderness. They remember your voice, your prayers, your forgiveness, your presence, but more than that, they remember the feeling of divine peace that once surrounded you both. Heaven is now using that remembrance to draw them closer, not to nostalgia but to repentance. Gabriel says, conviction is the language of love Heaven uses to bring lost hearts home. While you have been healing in surrender, they have been awakening in silence. The distance that once separated you became the altar where God began to work in them. Every tear you cried became intercession. Every prayer you whispered became seed. You were not ignored. You were heard. And now heaven is watering those seeds through conviction in their soul. The Archangel explains, when God begins to touch their conscience, you will feel it in your spirit. A peace will visit you that does not match what you see. They will not tell you this yet. Pride still hides its face in shadows. But their heart has begun to break in recognition of what they resisted. They are being undone by divine love, stripped of pretense and drawn into humility. Gabriel says, heaven does not shame a heart into awakening, it whispers it back into remembrance. This process must remain hidden because it is holy. God will not expose what he is still healing. That is why you have not heard from them, not because they have forgotten, but because heaven is not finished. If you saw them now, you might interrupt the transformation still in progress. Gabriel warns, you must not chase what God is still correcting. Let the Spirit finish his work. You will know when this awakening has matured, because you will feel release, not the kind that forgets, but the kind that forgives. When your peace deepens suddenly and your hope no longer feels heavy, it means heaven has shifted the season. The same Spirit that comforted you is now confronting them. The work is mutual, but the timing is precise. Gabriel reminds you that in Luke chapter 15, verse 17, the prodigal son's awakening began when he came to himself. No one argued with him, no one forced him. Heaven simply allowed clarity to pierce confusion. The same is happening now. They are coming to themselves. They are remembering who they were when grace surrounded them through your presence. Saint Gabriel, Archangel, concludes with divine assurance, you may not hear their prayers, but heaven does. You may not see their tears, but God collects them. You may not feel their steps, but they are walking home slowly, quietly, repentantly. Do not mistake silence for absence. Heaven is working, and soon, what has been whispered in secret will manifest in light. The mirror of prayer, how your intercession is working. Saint Gabriel, Archangel, now unveils a mystery that few understand, the divine reflection between your prayers and their awakening. Every tear you have cried, every whisper you thought heaven ignored, has been mirrored in the spiritual realm. Your intercession has not only been heard, it has been multiplied. Gabriel's voice resonates with authority as he declares, when a heart prays in surrender, heaven bends toward earth to answer in alignment. Your prayers have never been in vain. They were never floating words lost in air. They were commands released in faith, shaping circumstances you cannot yet see. When you prayed for peace, heaven sent conviction. When you prayed for healing, heaven began reordering hearts. When you prayed for reunion, heaven began separation from distractions. The Archangel explains, You were not praying into emptiness. You were co-laboring with God's will. Every prayer has been an echo of heaven's own desire. Prayer, when born of love, becomes a mirror. What you speak before God reflects into the heart of the one you love, and though they may not hear your voice, they feel its pull. There were nights when you prayed for their protection, and they inexplicably felt peace. There were mornings when you forgave them silently, and they suddenly felt lighter. You thought you were alone in prayer, but your faith has been shaping their atmosphere. Gabriel says, "The Spirit carries your intercession like wind, unseen yet powerful enough to shift souls." The Archangel reveals that this is why you have been called to pray even when it felt useless, because your prayer is part of the architecture of restoration. Heaven has been using your words as divine instruments to build bridges over the very distance you feared. While you prayed, angels were dispatched. While you wept, chains were loosening. Every act of forgiveness became light in their darkness. Every time you chose love over anger, heaven expanded the path for their return. Gabriel explains that the purpose of your prayer was never persuasion, it was participation. You have been standing as an intercessor, not a beggar, as one who carries heaven's heartbeat for another soul. The Archangel declares, your prayer has become prophecy. You spoke their name with tears, and heaven wrote it with fire. There is a sacred rhythm at work. When you rest in peace, they are stirred in spirit. When you release anxiety, they receive conviction. Heaven balances both hearts through the same thread of prayer. The more you surrender control, the stronger your intercession becomes. Gabriel warns, prayer is not power when you try to control, it becomes power when you let go. Your heart has been chosen for this mission because love purified by pain becomes intercession that moves heaven. That is why your prayers have carried such weight, because they were not born from pride but from brokenness. The Archangel reminds you that in Psalm chapter 56 verse 8, it is written that God keeps our tears in his bottle. Every tear of yours has been stored, and none have been wasted. They are now being poured back as mercy upon the one you prayed for. And now, heaven is responding. You may notice a shift. Your prayers feel lighter, your burdens softer. That is the sign that heaven has taken over. You have prayed them into a corner of grace where conviction and love will meet. You do not need to remind God, you only need to remain faithful. Gabriel says, intercession is not a request. It is partnership with heaven's plan. St. Gabriel Archangel concludes this revelation with sacred affirmation. Your prayers have already reached their destination. The same angels who carried your words to heaven are now carrying heaven's response to them. Keep your faith steady. What you prayed for in pain is now unfolding in purpose. The divine reversal, when the one who left starts searching for peace. St. Gabriel Archangel now reveals the moment heaven begins to turn the story. The divine reversal, when the one who walked away can no longer find peace in the places they ran to. Gabriel's voice trembles with compassion and divine justice as he declares, when God has marked two hearts for purpose, no distance, distraction, or deception can offer lasting comfort. What left in rebellion will return in revelation. The reversal begins quietly. They wake up with an ache they cannot name. The same places that once felt free now feel empty. The laughter that once drowned their guilt now sounds hollow. The distractions that once numbed their heart begin to lose power. They start to notice small things. The absence of peace, the repetition of memories, the sudden conviction that something precious was left unfinished. Heaven is stirring their soul, closing every counterfeit door until they have no choice but to seek what is real. Gabriel explains that divine reversal is not punishment, it is pursuit. God is not trying to shame them. He is trying to shepherd them. The very silence that once protected you is now the silence that awakens them. The same spirit that comforted you in your pain is now confronting them in their pride. This is how heaven reclaims what wandered. the Archangel says. It allows the soul to taste everything else until it realizes nothing satisfies except divine connection. While they search for peace, they begin to remember, not just you, but the presence of God that surrounded you. The prayers, the stillness, the safety of your love, all of it begins to haunt them in holy ways. They realize the peace they felt with you was not human, it was heaven's fingerprint, and without it even success feels small. Gabriel declares, "The one who left peace will never outrun its absence. Heaven makes sure of it." This is the turning of tides, where your pain becomes their awakening. What once crushed you now begins to call them home. Every sleepless night you endured, they now begin to feel. Every tear you shed, they now begin to understand. Divine reversal is the justice of heaven written in mercy, not to hurt them, but to bring them back humbled and transformed. The Archangel says, when heaven reverses the story, it is not to return them to where they were. It is to bring them to who they were meant to become. You may feel this shift in your spirit before it manifests. Suddenly, the urge to pray for them deepens. A peace settles in you, while restlessness stirs in them. That is not imagination, it is synchronization. God is balancing the scales of timing. As your heart reaches peace, theirs begins to seek it, and that seeking will lead them right back to where heaven first planted truth. Gabriel reminds you that in Luke chapter 15, verse 20, the prodigal son began his return when he longed for home. Not out of pride, but out of realization. That moment has begun for them. The reversal is in motion. They are walking through conviction into remembrance, from guilt into grace. The Archangel concludes this revelation with divine authority. Do not chase them, grace already is. What once walked away is now walking back under the weight of holy restlessness. The same peace that carried you through the storm will guide them through their wilderness. And when they find you again, they will know. Peace was never a place, it was a person heaven used to reach them. The angels of alignment. Saint Gabriel, Archangel, now reveals the next phase in heaven's unfolding plan, the silent orchestration of divine alignment. What you perceive as coincidence is coordination. What you call chance encounters, repeated numbers, recurring dreams, or inexplicable reminders are not random at all. They are signals of heaven's architecture being activated. Gabriel's voice carries authority and wonder as he says, when God is preparing a reunion, he sends his angels ahead of it. You may not realize it, but the spiritual realm is alive with movement. There are angels assigned to both of you, some guiding your thoughts, others directing circumstances, others guarding moments of potential contact. They are the keepers of divine timing. They ensure that both hearts, once fractured by delay, now arrive at the same intersection of readiness. Gabriel explains, heaven's timing is not slow, it is strategic. When both souls reach the same depth of peace, the angels unlock the next step. The Archangel describes these angels as architects of holy intersections. They influence emotions, rearrange schedules, and orchestrate encounters that seem accidental but are divinely engineered. They stir reminders in the heart of the one who left, a scent, a song, a place, a date, each designed to soften the spirit, to prepare for recognition. They whisper in your prayers, stay still. The path is being cleared. Heaven's order is never chaotic. Gabriel says, even divine reunion requires rehearsal, and angels conduct it in silence. Sometimes this orchestration takes the form of delays, a missed call, a cancelled plan, a redirection that frustrates you. But these are not obstacles, they are divine edits. Heaven removes what could sabotage destiny. The Archangel explains, God will never let you meet in the wrong moment. When angels delay, it is because they are protecting peace. You may begin to notice patterns repeating, dreams that mirror your emotions, songs that echo your prayers, or phrases that seem to follow you across days. These are confirmations. The angels are aligning your attention with heaven's rhythm, training you to discern between impulse and instruction. The same spirit that guided Mary and Joseph in Matthew chapter 2, verse 13 through angelic direction is guiding you now, warning, positioning, and preparing. Gabriel reveals that sometimes angels even work through others. You may cross paths with someone who unknowingly speaks the very words you needed to hear, or a message appears at the exact moment your faith begins to waver. These are not accidents. Heaven speaks through vessels disguised as moments. The Archangel says, every alignment begins with awareness. When you learn to notice, you learn to cooperate. But there is also an angelic presence around them, drawing them back through conviction and memory, protecting them from further distraction, guiding them toward clarity. They are being led through a series of divine coincidences that will soon become revelation. The same angels who comforted you are now confronting them. The network of grace stretches between both hearts, forming a bridge made of obedience, prayer, and divine intervention. Gabriel concludes this revelation with sacred assurance. Nothing about this reunion is random. Every delay, every reminder, every stirring of the heart has been mapped by heaven's hand. The angels of alignment are not waiting for you to act. They are waiting for you to believe. Stay in peace, for the coordinates of destiny are already being drawn. The moment both souls align in readiness, heaven will release the meeting, and nothing on earth will be able to stop it. The test of silence. When you must not move first. Saint Gabriel Archangel now brings one of the most difficult lessons in divine restoration, the test of silence. It is in this stillness that heaven measures trust. The Archangel's tone deepens, filled with solemn authority and compassion as he says, before God restores what was lost, He tests whether your faith depends on noise. This silence is not punishment. It is purification. It is heaven's way of ensuring that your next move comes from peace, not panic. You have felt this test before. The ache of waiting, the urge to reach out, the temptation to fix what only God can finish. Every time you consider acting from impatience, heaven whispers, be still. Not because you are forgotten, but because the one who left is still being transformed. Gabriel declares, if you move too soon, you interrupt conviction. If you chase before they are ready, you will meet the version of them heaven is still healing. This silence is sacred ground. It is where God completes what He began. You are being asked to trust what you cannot see, to believe that heaven is moving in the unseen, even when the earth feels motionless. The Archangel explains that silence is not absence, it is strategy. When you feel nothing, it is because God is protecting everything. The seed of restoration grows best in quiet soil, Gabriel says. Too much noise uproots what grace is still nurturing. Heaven often delays communication to separate divine timing from human desire. You are not waiting for a text message or a visit. You are waiting for transformation. Every day of silence is a layer of healing. Every unanswered question is an opportunity for maturity. The Archangel reminds you, if they spoke now, their words would still come from fear, not revelation. Heaven holds them back until their voice carries truth. Even Jesus endured silence. In John chapter 11, verse 6, when Lazarus was dying, He waited 2 days before going. Not because He did not care, but because timing was sacred. The same principle applies to you. God's delay is not disinterest. It is divine order. Gabriel says, what arrives too early will arrive unhealed. Heaven waits until what once wounded becomes what now worships. The test of silence is also a mirror. It reveals what still needs surrender within you. Can you trust God without evidence? Can you love without control? Can you hold peace while nothing changes? This is where faith matures. When you pass this test, heaven no longer needs to restrain what it has already released. Gabriel explains, when your peace becomes stronger than your impatience, the silence will end because its purpose will be fulfilled. During this stage, your only task is stillness. Pray without pleading, believe without bargaining. Thank God as if the promise were already visible. The Archangel warns, do not mistake stillness for stagnation. Stillness is where heaven proves you can carry what you prayed for. Every moment you resist reacting, you strengthen the bridge heaven is building between you. Gabriel concludes this revelation with quiet finality. Do not move first. Let heaven send the signal. The silence that frustrates you today is the very silence preparing your tomorrow. When the time is right, they will come, and not because you called, but because heaven released. The next voice you hear will not be born of confusion. It will be the echo of peace. Wait for that sound. It is the sound of destiny. The sacred return, how you will recognize them. Saint Gabriel Archangel now unveils the most awaited moment in this divine journey, the sacred return. When the one who left finally reappears, heaven ensures that you will recognize not just their face but their transformation. Gabriel's voice carries the calm of fulfillment as he declares, you will know the return is divine, not by emotion, but by peace. What comes from heaven never re-enters through confusion. You will feel it before you see it. The air around you will change. Your spirit will become still. The anxiety that used to accompany their name will vanish. You will no longer feel the need to force or prove anything. You will simply know. This is heaven's seal, recognition without fear. Gabriel explains, when restoration is holy, it does not rush the heart, it restores its rhythm. The person returning will not carry the same energy that left. The tone of their voice will be softer, their words slower, their eyes steadier. You will sense humility instead of pride, presence instead of avoidance, clarity instead of confusion. They may not even know how to express everything they feel, but their spirit will speak louder than words. Heaven will confirm it in the peace that wraps around you like light. You will not need to question, Gabriel says, because peace is heaven's language of recognition. God will orchestrate the encounter in a way no human could design. It may happen through timing that feels impossible, through a moment so precise that you will know heaven arranged it. The Archangel reminds you, divine meetings do not require pursuit. They unfold naturally. Heaven schedules them by alignment, not effort. But Gabriel also cautions, the sacred return is not about repeating the past. This is not the return of old patterns or wounds. It is the resurrection of purpose. What is being restored is not just love, it is destiny. The connection will now serve a higher calling. Heaven has rewritten the story to glorify God through what once caused pain. You are not being given back what broke you, the Archangel declares. You are being entrusted with what healed you both. When they speak, you will feel truth vibrate in their tone. When they look at you, there will be no hesitation, no fear of vulnerability. The conversation will feel like prayer, sacred, calm, full of understanding. This time, silence will not divide you. It will unite you. The same spirit that comforted you in their absence will now rest upon your reunion. The Archangel assures you that discernment will guide every detail. If confusion tries to return, you will feel heaven's warning. If peace remains, you will know it is blessed. Gabriel says, heaven's return never comes to test your faith. It comes to reward it. The love that is of God does not demand explanation, it brings revelation. Even the environment around your meeting will testify. The timing, the stillness, the atmosphere will feel sacred. Your heart will not race, it will rest. What once felt uncertain will now feel inevitable. And though you may not understand every step, you will know this truth: the divine has finished what it began. Saint Gabriel, Archangel, concludes this revelation with authority and tenderness. When the one who left returns, do not ask if it is real. Look for peace, and for peace is the proof of prophecy fulfilled. Heaven has not brought you back together to relive pain, but to redeem it. The same love that once tested your patience will now reveal God's promise. You will not have to chase it. You will only need to receive it. What returns in grace will remain in light. The warning: counterfeit returns and false signs. Saint Gabriel, Archangel, now brings a holy caution, the warning that not every return is divine. Before heaven fulfills the true prophecy, the enemy often imitates its appearance. A counterfeit return may arrive first, wrapped in nostalgia, but empty of peace. The Archangel's voice becomes grave, clear and piercing as he declares, "Discernment is your shield. Do not mistake emotional urgency for divine confirmation. Heaven's hand never rushes, it restores." There will come a moment when someone from your past, or even a new presence carrying familiar energy, reappears as if on cue. They may say the right words, echo old memories, or speak of regret. But Gabriel warns that the enemy often mimics timing to tempt your impatience. When the heart is weary, he says, it becomes vulnerable to imitation. That is why heaven teaches stillness before fulfillment. The counterfeit return will stir confusion instead of calm. It will demand attention rather than invite peace. It will mirror the desire you once had, but not the healing you prayed for. The conversation will feel unfinished, full of questions and tension. Heaven's presence cannot dwell where pressure replaces peace. The Archangel explains, what comes from God will never need to manipulate emotion. It will arrive clothed in humility, not urgency. Gabriel instructs you to test every sign through stillness. When you sense a stirring, do not rush to respond. Instead, bring it into prayer. Ask heaven, does this connection bring me closer to peace or back into confusion? The true return will confirm itself with clarity, consistency, and compassion. The false one will drain your energy, reopen wounds, and leave you uncertain. Discernment, says the Archangel, is how heaven protects restored hearts from repeated lessons. The enemy will often use imitation timing. He knows when you are near breakthrough and sends distraction disguised as destiny. This is why Saint Gabriel reminds you, every divine reunion is preceded by a counterfeit to reveal what still governs your heart, emotion, or obedience. The counterfeit return appeals to memory, but the divine one aligns with purpose. One feeds longing, the other fulfills calling. Gabriel recalls the story in Matthew chapter 4, verses 8 to 10, where even Christ himself was offered counterfeit glory by the tempter. He was shown kingdoms and promises, all fake, all hollow. The same tactic applies to love. The enemy may present you with the illusion of closure or comfort just before true restoration arrives. That is why you must not act from loneliness, but from discernment. The Archangel offers 3 spiritual confirmations of authenticity. The true return brings peace that silences fear, truth that needs no persuasion, and presence that feels guided, not forced. Anything less is imitation. If confusion follows, Gabriel says, heaven did not send it. This warning is not meant to instill fear, but wisdom. Heaven does not want your restored heart to fall back into the hands of illusion. You have prayed, healed, and waited. Now you must guard what grace has rebuilt. The Archangel's words burn with both tenderness and authority. When something returns, measure it not by how much you missed it, but by how much peace it brings. Gabriel concludes this revelation with sacred clarity. Do not chase what heaven has not confirmed. The enemy can imitate timing, words, and appearance, but he cannot imitate peace. Peace is heaven's fingerprint. Let peace guide your response, for what is truly from God will not compete for your attention. It will simply remain. The prophecy of restoration, love reborn in light. Now St. Gabriel Archangel lifts the veil between what was and what is to come. His voice softens yet carries divine authority, and every word feels like prophecy unfolding in real time. What was broken is not being repeated, he declares. It is being reborn. Heaven is not returning the same story. It is resurrecting a purified version of it, one written in grace instead of pain, in truth instead of illusion, in faith instead of fear. This restoration does not emerge from longing. It emerges from divine order. Both hearts have been taken through fire, one through silence, the other through conviction. And now, from the ashes of separation, heaven is shaping a love that carries the fragrance of redemption. Gabriel says, "The one who left has walked through their wilderness. They have wrestled with guilt, encountered truth, and bowed before the same God who comforted you." The distance was not wasted. It was the classroom of transformation. In this prophecy, the Archangel reveals the pattern of restoration. First comes the breaking, then the silence, then the awakening, and finally, the return in light. What once felt like punishment was preparation. Heaven was removing what was humanly built, so that what was divinely written could rise unshaken. The same God who allowed the distance, Gabriel declares, is now commanding reunion, not as repetition, but as revelation. You will notice that the love returning to your life no longer mirrors emotional need. It will no longer feed anxiety, dependency, or doubt. Instead, it will awaken peace, clarity, and spiritual purpose. The connection will carry heaven's anointing because it was born again through obedience. This time, love will serve your calling. It will not compete with it. Gabriel explains that divine love always carries assignment. It is not given for comfort alone, but for purpose. The two of you were never meant merely to meet. You were meant to manifest something together that glorifies God. Your union becomes testimony, proof that heaven can turn heartbreak into ministry, pain into peace, loss into legacy. When God restores, the Archangel says, He does not return what you lost, He multiplies what you surrendered. The prophecy continues. You will see them again, and you will know instantly that the journey was worth every tear. Their words will not need to prove, their spirit will witness. You will recognize that this time, love is anchored in prayer, not emotion. You will sense that heaven's peace has sealed what pain once tried to destroy. Even your surroundings will bear witness to the change. There will be alignment in timing, provision, and opportunity. You will feel heaven's wind moving around you, confirming that this reunion is not just emotional. It is prophetic. The same angels who carried your tears have carried their conviction, and now both are being poured together into one divine moment of restoration. St. Gabriel Archangel declares with certainty, the promise you once released in faith has returned sanctified. What once left in confusion now returns in purpose. What was torn apart by human timing is now bound by divine decree. No voice of fear, doubt, or interference can cancel what God Himself has resurrected. Heaven's light now surrounds this love. It is no longer fragile. It is fortified. It no longer echoes sorrow. It sings redemption. The prophecy concludes with Gabriel's voice echoing like a celestial seal. The love that once broke you has now become the evidence that God never stopped writing your story. It is restored not to complete your heart, but to reveal His glory. You are not waiting for love anymore. You are walking into its fulfillment. The Midnight Prayer. When you surrender and heaven moves, St. Gabriel Archangel now leads you into the most sacred part of this revelation, the hour of surrender. It is midnight. The veil between heaven and earth has thinned, and the presence of God fills the silence around you. The Archangel's voice lowers, steady and reverent, as if heaven itself pauses to listen. This, he says, is not the time to ask. This is the time to release. When you surrender, heaven begins to move. Close your eyes. Feel the stillness of this hour. It is not emptiness, it is expectancy. Every tear you shed, every unanswered prayer, every moment you thought was lost has reached the throne of God. Gabriel whispers, "You are not praying into the dark, you are praying into destiny." Heaven has heard your petitions, but now it waits for your permission. Permission to act, permission to restore, permission to do what only God can do. The Archangel teaches that true prayer is not about pleading for what you desire. It is about aligning with what heaven has already written. Your prayer tonight must not be "bring them back," he says. Your prayer must be "let your will be done." And if this love is from you, breathe your spirit into it once more. That is the kind of surrender that activates divine movement. Heaven only restores what the soul releases fully into God's hands. This prayer is not spoken loudly, it is whispered through faith. It begins with gratitude. Thank you, God, for the silence that healed me. Thank you for the distance that purified me. Thank you for the pain that became my teacher. And thank you, Lord, for the love you are restoring under your grace. As you speak these words in your heart, something begins to shift in the atmosphere. Heaven recognizes surrender as obedience. The angels who have been waiting for this moment begin to move. Gabriel declares, "Every restoration begins not with reunion, but with release." The moment you stop clinging, heaven starts constructing. When your hands let go, God's hands begin to build. This is why midnight matters, because it symbolizes transition. It is the moment when one day ends and another begins. It is the divine metaphor for rebirth. The Archangel continues, "Tonight, your past dies quietly, and your promise awakens. Heaven does not need your control, it needs your consent." He instructs you to breathe and say within your spirit, "I surrender. I trust the timing of God. I release what is not aligned and welcome what is divine." When you do, peace will flood your heart like light breaking through a closed window. That peace is not emotional relief, it is the confirmation that heaven has received your prayer. Gabriel assures, the stillness you feel afterward is not emptiness. It is heaven's whisper saying, "It is done." In this sacred hour, the Archangel reminds you that God does not work by human deadlines. Midnight is not an ending. It is the divine announcement that a new beginning has been born in silence. Do not measure time by clocks, he says. Measure it by peace. The hour of manifestation follows the hour of surrender. And now, as heaven listens, Gabriel seals this moment with prophetic certainty. Your surrender has released movement in heaven. The angels are walking paths already prepared. The one you love is being drawn toward you by grace, not by force. The restoration you prayed for is no longer a possibility. It is a process unfolding, even now. He ends with these words, carried like a celestial benediction. As you close your eyes tonight, do not ask when. Simply rest in the truth that heaven has already begun. Midnight has passed. The promise is alive. The love you released into God's hands will return under His light, sanctified, secured, and unstoppable. The light after midnight. St. Gabriel Archangel now brings the message to its completion. Not an ending, but an awakening. The night that once held your tears now glows with promise. The silence that once felt unbearable has become sacred proof that heaven was working while you were waiting. As the first light of dawn approaches, Gabriel's presence feels near, radiant yet calm, as he declares, "The darkness was never punishment. It was preparation for the light you now see breaking through." You are not the same soul who began this journey. The pain that once consumed you has been transfigured into peace. The longing that once weighed you down has been lifted into purpose. Heaven has not only restored love, it has restored you. Gabriel speaks softly, yet his words carry divine finality. What was once fragmented has been made whole. What you thought was over has become testimony. The Archangel reveals that the moment you surrendered at midnight, heaven recorded your faith as agreement. The divine order is now active. Angels are still moving, guiding steps, softening hearts, aligning circumstances beyond human sight. You do not need to chase what God is sending, he says. You only need to stay in peace long enough for heaven to finish what it began. In this light, you will begin to perceive new signs, not of longing but of completion. Conversations that used to stir pain will now bring calm. Memories that once reopened wounds will now evoke gratitude. The same love that tested your patience has now matured your faith. It was never meant to end in heartbreak. It was meant to awaken you to the kind of love that mirrors God's own nature, patient, redemptive, enduring. Gabriel continues, when divine love returns, it does not announce itself with noise. It arrives in stillness. It will come quietly, just as dawn follows night, without effort, without doubt, without confusion. You will simply wake one day and realize that the waiting was worth it. The Archangel reminds you that heaven's promises are not broken by time, they are refined by it. The delay was the polishing of your faith so that when the gift appeared, you would be ready to hold it with grace, not fear. As the light of a new day rises, the Archangel lifts his hand as though sealing your spirit with blessing. Walk forward now with open eyes, he says. Do not look backward. What belongs to you by divine decree cannot be taken, and what was never yours cannot stay. Trust the flow of peace, for it will always lead you home. And with that, the presence of heaven withdraws gently, leaving behind a serenity that lingers like a sacred fragrance. The night is no longer heavy, it is holy. The waiting has become worship, and the longing has become light. Somewhere beyond your sight, heaven continues to weave the final threads of this story, preparing the moment when what was once broken will stand before you whole. St. Gabriel's final words echo in your spirit. The prophecy is fulfilled in stages, not seconds. Stay in the light. Love will find you again, not because you searched, but because heaven wrote it so. The night has ended. The restoration has begun. The revelation closes, and as you breathe, you realize you are no longer waiting for signs, you are living inside them. The dawn has come. The light after midnight is already here.